Welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen. The messages of inspirational stories is proudly brought to you today by the good guys at the 6minutewebinar.com. And today, as you can see in our title down there, Living in Love by Releasing Fear. To you. Back in 1962, Roy Orbison wrote a song and he recorded a song called Running Scared. And some of you may remember the song. That's a song about him writing about his life, his heart, and how he was afraid he was going to lose his girlfriend. In that particular scenario, he has no control over that because you cannot make someone love you. But in your everyday life, we see a multitude of people running around in the world here today, and sadly, they're running scared. But they have control over that because you can choose to let go of fear. We got Mr. Bill Heinrich, our guest today, and he is the honorary host on TogiNet Radio. Your Future Is Now, with millions of downloads. You can catch him on all the major podcasts, that radio show. He's also the author of The 7 Levels of Truth. And normally I turn the book around and show you his picture, but you'll see him in living color today here on TV. And I'm also joined by our host administrator, Michaela Vidal. Hi, Michaela. How are you doing today?
Good. How are you?
Fine. How excited is a young person like you? I got a little bit of a light problem here. I'll fix it in a minute. How excited is a young person like you to have Bill Heinrich on the show today?
I'm excited. It's going to be very useful to know how to live without having any fear.
Yeah, isn't that the truth? Because that's something we all have to deal with to some degree, is living in fear and worry. And some people, it seems like that seems to be the theme of their lifestyle. And that's about it enslaves you. It robs you of all your health, your happiness, your energy, and everything, And because you being a mom with 6 kids, you never worry about your kids, do you?
Oh, never.
Oh, yeah, sure. It's
Not a
only
thought in my
natural.
mind.
Yeah, I tell you. But, that's a good type of concern to be concerned about. But really, when you live in love and release fear, and Bill Heinrich is a master at that. He wrote a book. It took 25 years in the making. He teaches you a lot about just, let it go and how to replace fear with love. Because I look at it like this. Inside of us, we can only hold so much capacity of an emotion. And I'm using very layman terms. But if we're full of fear, love can't get in. But as soon as we push all that fear out, it's like a vacuum. It's replaced by love. And the love for yourself, the love for mankind, the love of life. My goodness. And of course, if I promised Bill I was going to get him on here early, and because I know he's got a lot of good information he's going to be sharing with us. He's going to stimulate a lot of good conversation. If you're watching this on Facebook and you'd like to ask Bill a question, please send us a comment. And we want to thank everyone for wherever you watch us at around the world, Roku and all that, because our audience increased by 15% back in July. And I got to give credit to Michaela Vidal with her social media posting. Thank you, Michaela. You're the one that made that happen. And I'm going to push the button, and I'm going to let you, Michaela, welcome Mr. Bill Heinrich to the show.
Hey, welcome.
Thank you, Michaela. Wonderful to be here with you. I'm scared to death. No.
Yeah.
You're going to help us not be scared.
Yeah.
You want the quick answer to that?
Sure.
No.
No.
I am not. However, I'll tell you some things. So anybody watching this show, get a piece of paper and a pen, because what I've done, over 25 years ago, I made a decision to change my life, and I walked away from the life I was living at that moment. Literally walked away from it and changed everything but my name. And I'm doing that again right now. I'm in the process of doing it all over again because Life is about the experience, and fear is an integral part of life. It's a very important part of the human experience in the physical.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Before you're born and after you die, you won't have any fear. Don't worry about it.
That's a relief.
But it's a
Yeah.
very, very important part of the human experience. So
Hmm.
what question do you have, Michaela? Where do you want to start with this? What's the first question that comes to your mind? And we'll just get off and running talking about fear.
I don't know. What to you would you define as fear? Like when
Okay,
someone, because there's, to me, there's like someone can fear like, heights, but then someone can fear, things happening to them in life, like overly fearful of everything.
there's a lot of different kinds of fear. That's a great question.
Hmm.
You know, there's fear like if you're in a situation physically where somebody comes after you, there's a fear for having to protect yourself. That's a healthy fear. Like we're going to take care of
Right.
ourselves. But the fear we're going to talk about today is the fear that comes from all the stories that are inside you that aren't true.
Mm-hmm.
The things we were taught when we were young that don't support us anymore. So that makes fear a very, very valuable experience. And here's why: it's an opportunity to source the belief behind it. Because the acronym for fear, there's a few of them, but the one that I like is false evidence appearing real. FEAR.
That's a good
False
one.
evidence appearing real. It appears real. You feel scared. I lived my entire life in fear. In fact, I lived in a blanket of fear that began the moment I was born, and I did not realize it until after I left my life and went to change it. It was 5 or 6 or maybe 10 years after that I realized I was totally encased in fear, and I was attending these programs trying to learn about feelings and connecting, and oh my God, I was lost, right? I mean, I was lost because
Yeah.
I didn't have the capacity to have a feeling because I lived in this wall of fear. So the feelings I did have were reactions to the fear, where
Mm.
now I know the difference between fear and other feelings. And
Hmm.
Right.
something that's very important, everybody wants to write this down. You cannot have an emotion without a story.
Mm.
Let me say that
It's
again.
true.
You can't,
I'm gonna write it
you
down.
can't, yeah, you cannot have an emotion without having a story behind it. There
Hmm.
has to be a story. So fear is good because it's taking you to the stories that don't support you. Fear is
Mm.
very healthy. It's the alarms are going off. However,
Right.
the truth of the matter is a vast, vast, vast majority of the population lives in fear that they aren't even aware of.
Hmm.
They aren't even aware of it. It's
Yeah.
so deep seated in them in those stories. They don't have a clue. And this is why um, this is why this fear, when something happens, people go into reaction, and it's like, and one of the most predominant fears, Michaela, is fear of loss.
Mm.
And
Mm-hmm.
fear of loss can have to do with loved ones. It can have to do with children. It can have to do with a job. It can have to do with a salary. It can have to do with just the loss of some expectation. It's like, oh, we're supposed to go party this weekend, or we're going to do this road trip or whatever, and then something happens, and the boss comes in and says, hey, you got to work late on this date or whatever, and people go into reaction because it's fear of loss of that expectation. So
Mm.
there's some really simple guidelines. Okay. The first one is this. There's a saying that I love, and it's this, Michaela. Fear knocked on the door and love answered, but no one was there. Because fear and love can't coexist.
Right.
It's not possible. It isn't possible. Okay. Here's another one. I want you to write this down. Okay. The only way you can create fear is by going to the past or going to the future. It's impossible to have fear in the present moment.
That makes sense.
Like right now in this conversation, you have no fear, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're just listening, you're connected, you're present. It's impossible to be in fear when you're in the present moment. It is impossible. You have to go back to one of those stories. You have to go into the future, and there is no future. That's just total BS. There's no such thing as a future. All we have is the present moment and our past experiences.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah.
You don't know what the future holds. Yeah.
Yeah, because when somebody plans for the future, here's what they do. They take the carpet that's laying behind them, and they go like this, and they throw it out in front of them. So they're just reprojecting their past out in front of them. Because you can only source information from your mind, and your mind can only go to your past experiences. So
It's crazy when you say it out loud.
Yeah.
What's that?
It's crazy when you say it out loud. It makes you
When you
really
say
think.
Say what?
Like listening to you just say it out loud, like, you know, about the whole future.
There
Because
isn't
to
one.
me, it's right. Because to me, it's like it's also, you know, you're making expectations for yourself for your future, and if you don't meet those expectations, you know, then that the fear
Yeah.
of
Right.
loss, you know, comes
Yeah.
in hand.
Okay. So here's another one. Okay. The definitive disappointment is when expectations meet reality.
I like that.
They
I
never
like
come.
that.
Your expectations never get met. It's impossible.
Right.
Yeah.
They never get met. They're less than or greater than. And when you have an expectation, you're measuring. Okay. So we live, and in my book, The 7 Levels of Truth, by the way, Jim, I've been picked up by a publisher in New York. We're republishing the book. I've got a new cover design I just saw. We're going to come out and publish it here sometime in the next month or two. I'm not even sure when. I've been so busy with other things. It'll get done when it gets done. But I'm out on a book tour now. We're setting up speaking engagements on the West Coast right now. But in my book, you know, I talk about this, and I want you to be with this, Michaela, okay? We live in two dimensions. We live in a physical dimension, and we live in a non-physical dimension. The non-physical dimension is the energy. The physical dimension is what's in front of you, in the physical.
Right.
Now, what you're seeing in the physical isn't real. Let me repeat that. It's not real. And the reason it isn't real, why are you smiling?
I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me.
Well, let me tell you why. Because what you see in the physical is different from everyone else.
I can see that. We all have different
And what we
perspectives.
see in the physical, is our past projected out.
Okay, when you say it like that, it makes sense.
You can only project from your stories, and everybody has different stories and beliefs. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
This is why I always say the world is a mirror. Whatever you see in the world is you. And that's what's going on inside of you. Now, our head only uses logic, can only reference our past experience, and is controlled by this thing called an ego. And the purpose of the ego is to protect ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only purpose of the ego, is to protect us, right? Our heart is the engine that creates emotions. And the primary emotion of the heart is love. And anything special that's ever happened in your life, anything, it's not based on what happened, Michaela. It's based upon how you felt when it happened.
I could see that.
So name something, like when you got married, okay?
Mhm.
I'm sure the wedding was nice, but it was all about how you felt, right?
Right.
It was
Right.
all about you experience this all the time with your children. It's how you feel. You also spend your time trying to protect them with your logic in your head, which is something we have to do in the physical. But this is where it gets out of control, because everybody lives in the physical. I don't live in the physical. I only live in the non-physical.
How do you get to that point?
The way I get to that point is I realize and know that it's been scientifically proven that the entire universe runs on a vibration. And the universe runs everything, including Earth. Everything's a vibration.
Mm-hmm.
This vibration is the vibration that either takes you down because you're stuck in the physical with expectations, fear of loss, and I'll get into many other things about fear. Where when you come from a place of love, always for the benefit of all involved, without any concern for the outcome doesn't matter. The outcome, what you get in the physical and the outcome, is always a manifestation of the energy, the state of energy you're in as you create it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And it reminds it when you said manifestation, it's kind of like, when people say, how they got, everyone always asks how they got where they are, and everyone, the response is you just have to manifest it and believe that, you're worthy of where you're at.
And can you
Putting
do
it out
that with fear?
Yeah.
You can't manifest anything
can't.
good with fear. Okay.
Oh, you mean if you have fear? No.
No.
Yeah.
You have to do it with love. So fear is
Mm-hmm.
just part of the human experience.
Mm-hmm.
So what questions do you have?
Let me think. So somebody is in fear.
Listening. Let's get them some information.
If there's so if there's people living in fear, I know it's easier said than done to get to that point. Well, I mean, I'm sure it's probably easier than what it sounds like. But then you have people who are like so in fear that they think they aren't worthy of whatever can come out of having a positive mindset. How do you get those people to, I guess, believe that they're worthy and that they can?
I'll tell you how to do that. You reflect that to them energetically.
That kind of goes along with surround yourself with other positive people.
Yeah, I mean, whoever you have around you is a reflection of you, right?
Yeah.
But it's about your energy, because you see, when you use your head and you try and explain it to them, the ego comes in to protect. They start using logic, and everybody's referencing the past, so everybody's really gone. They aren't even in the present moment.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah.
But when you come from a place of love and you put the right energy behind it, they cannot block that energy. It's impossible. They can't
That's
block
true.
it. The energy's there.
Mm-hmm.
Many of them don't know what it is, and I know since I've known Jim, he's found this to be very true, haven't you, Jim? About
Oh,
following
yes.
your energy, right? Everything's energy.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
So one of the
It
biggest
really is.
problems is when we're living in the physical, the head is running the show, the ego's there, and it's all about protection. So what
Mm-hmm.
people are doing, first of all, I think that mindset is BS, because mindset is just an intellectual regurgitation of I'm wonderful, everything's great, my life is perfect, I'm manifesting this, I'm doing that. But when you show up with love and you hold the intention, not the expectation, because expectations can only respond to the physical. Intentions get created through energy. There's a saying, where your attention goes, you go. Where your attention goes, you go. But when I'm speaking to you, I'm holding the intention of helping other people learn more about what's destroying their life with this useless fear. So I'm explaining it from a place of love. I'm explaining it simply. And my whole purpose in life is how to teach people how to live a better life. You can't avoid sadness. You can't avoid happiness. Those are emotions that we experience. And in the universe, there's duality. There's duality to everything. So we live, when you look at happiness and sadness, there's a pendulum that swings back and forth. And if you come up and you're this happy, it comes out here, it has to swing back over to sadness. You have to touch sadness. That's the way energy works. We have no control over that. And that sadness will either come out or it'll get ignored and stuffed.
Mm-hmm.
That's why last month, I just read 2 days ago that last month in the state of Nevada, the casinos won $1.3 billion. That's what they won in the month of what's this? What are we in now? No, we're in August. That was the month of July. They won $1.3 billion. People gave them $1.3 billion to escape these emotions.
And it didn't do anything for them.
Right. Well, if you divide 1.3 billion and just assume that everybody lost $1,000, I'm really good at math, but I can't figure that one out. But that's a lot of people that lost $1,000.
Oh yeah.
Billions, right?
Mm-hmm.
But this, shopping, food, sex, all of these things we use to avoid our feelings. But when you have a place to share your feelings safely and say, hey, I feel this way, people always go into reaction because somebody says something, they're like, this is what he said about me. And then they start pointing their finger. Have you ever heard that or done that?
Oh yeah, you hear it all the time.
Yeah. You want to know the truth of the matter is? You don't react to that. What those people are telling you is what they see in the world. I used to see those things because I was scared and I didn't know it. I used to be angry. I use humor. I'm very funny. Like I could just have you guys rolling on the floor, but I don't use humor anymore. The reason I don't use humor is because I used it as avoidance. So I wouldn't have to feel as bad as I felt, the lack of self-worth that I had. Everything was going to go everything was going in the tank. I was a millionaire when I was 30. I was broke when I was 32. I couldn't hold it. I didn't have the self-worth. I didn't feel worthy enough. But when you look at it from a vibration, we're all equal. We all understand love. And that's all we want. And that's all we need to share. You know, fear, the ego causes you to protect. But with love, there's a saying that says, with love, the more you give, what's the end of that saying, Michaela?
The more you receive.
That's it. Guaranteed. Now, can you receive it from everybody? No. And you can't go love somebody else if you don't love yourself. So you've got to follow this fear and look at the stories that are creating it and change the stories. The stories aren't true. The stories have been in us so long. I mean, I'm only 30. I'm much younger than Jim, actually.
And better looking too.
Actually, I'm about, I think, 45 days younger than Jim. But the truth of the matter is, these stories go back. They're passed on from generation to generation. And when people when kids cry, what do parents do? They get them to stop and they take care of them. Let them cry. It's just an emotion.
Yeah, I was going to ask that because you always hear that, and I mean, a lot of parents won't, don't accept it, but you project your fear onto your kids.
They're living, do you know how you project it? In the energetic field. It's not even what you say.
That's crazy.
It's not crazy. It's simple.
It's sad though.
Huh?
It's sad. It's a sad reality.
Well, here's the problem: is we get born, and everybody gets focused on this thing called survival. Got to survive. Got to make money. Got to feed the kids, and we get locked into the physical. And if you just start looking at the physical from an energetic perspective and know that you're always going to be taken care of, was it Franklin D. Roosevelt? I think it was, said the only thing you have to fear is fear itself. And that statement is so true because when you have fear, what are you going to attract?
More fear?
Fear.
Yeah.
You're going to attract fearful people. You're literally going to create the situation that you don't want to happen.
The situation that you fear.
Yeah. You're creating it with the fear.
Yeah.
Because it's your interpretation. I live in an RV. I'm traveling cross country. In fact, I'm sitting in St. Louis, Missouri right now. I just pulled into a Walmart parking lot to do this interview. And I've been having some mechanical issues with my RV, my generator specifically, trying to get it figured out. And I've been in a lot of fear because it's hard to find people to even do the work. Everybody's so busy now, right? And I had to really focus on just get out of the fear, sit still, sit with love. Let's find the answers. And I finally came up with the answer. And I came up with the answer. I don't even know what today is, Tuesday, a week ago, Monday. It was a week ago, Sunday, when it broke down again. And I was in Corydon, Indiana. And I was supposed to have a meeting with somebody, and I stopped, and it was hot. I mean, it was 98 and 98. It was hot. I started my generator so I'd be cool in the conversation in my RV, and the generator quit. And I got in touch with this person and said, "Hey, I gotta find an RV park to get into because I've got no generator." I was very lucky to find an RV park, and when I found it, I said, "Well, I'm just going to stay here for the week because we just did this summit last weekend." But what I did is created space and time for me to be peaceful about all of this.
Mm-hmm.
And then I sat with it. I did some research. I ended up finding actually the company that manufactures it had a repair center in Evanston, Indiana. And so I made an appointment with them for yesterday after our summit was over. Arrived at 7 a.m. yesterday, brought it in. They worked on it. They couldn't find it. It got to be 2:30 in the afternoon. They said, we think it's this. We've ordered the part, but my man's leaving. I'm like, oh, darn. Now I got to go get a hotel room. I can't even stay in my RV because everything's torn apart, right? Like, okay. So I went, had a very nice evening, came back. They got it fixed today. It cost a lot of money to get it fixed, but it's fixed, and I have nothing but gratitude that it's fixed and it's done well. I went and shook the mechanic's hand and thanked him. I went and saw the manager and thanked him. Got loaded up, left Evansville this morning, and again just arrived in St. Louis. So, I could be sitting here bitching about the fact that it was a 4-figure bill. Okay, it was over $1,000 to get it repaired. Okay, I could sit here and bitch about it, but the truth of the matter is, these guys are the people that manufacture it. They know it inside and out. I could be mad at myself for having these other guys work on it that really don't understand it, who I also spent a lot of money with, that it never got repaired. We thought it was repaired twice. I mean, this has been going on 2 months. I'm just going to sit in a place of love with it and gratitude that it's repaired. That's okay. It costs that, but I know that it's done. And for that, I'm very, very grateful. And it's causing me to change my perception as I see things and things that need to be repaired or things going on that I need to take care of to be more responsible. And the first thing I do when that fear sits in is I sit down and get peaceful and calm. Because if you're frantic, you can't make good choices. You can't. And the fear I had wasn't what it would cost, wasn't even if I had to buy a new generator. I wasn't afraid of that at all. Which probably, if I could get one, would be, I don't know, $8,000 to $10,000. That wasn't the fear. The fear was finding somebody who could fix it and find the problem, so that I know that it's repaired. Because I'm in the middle of the country, and it's hot as they get out here, right? So I need the generator as I'm traveling and just parking in rest areas and sleeping. I need to have air conditioning. So that's what I do, is just focus on the energy and the love, and my thank you to them was extremely sincere. Like, I really meant it. I so appreciated it. So appreciate it. So you have to understand, everybody else is running around in fear. It's a normal emotion. Don't buy into it. Don't buy into it. Come from your place of love. Because if you're approaching it with love, even though you don't like what you're hearing, you can still approach it with love.
That's important.
Whatever the other person does with it doesn't matter. What they say, what
That's
they
up
do,
to them.
it doesn't matter. It's about how you feel inside. And that's how you learn to love yourself.
Yeah.
But you can't give away something. You can't give away something you don't have. What other
It's
questions
amazing.
do you have?
Oh,
Go ahead, Jim.
Go ahead, Michaela. You got another question?
No, you can go ahead.
Okay.
No, you go, Michaela. Come on. We got
Yeah, he's heard me talk. He's heard me talk. Yeah.
Okay, let's see.
There's no dumb questions.
Would you say that fear and somebody who has like stress over a situation is the same thing, or would you say it's different?
Well, the stress would come from the fear. There has to be fear beneath it. You know, one of the things I do when I work with clients is I spend a lot of time talking to them about safety. And everybody's, oh, I feel safe. And I show them all the places where they don't feel safe. They
Right.
don't feel safe, but they lock their door at night and they feel safe.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But they don't feel safe around people that they work with. They don't feel safe maybe financially. They don't feel safe in their neighborhood. It, they don't know how to understand what safety really is. And safety is
Mhm.
one of our basic needs.
Right.
And if you don't
So,
feel safe, go ahead.
mhm. I was gonna say, so for the people that don't feel safe, on the outside of things and mainly things that they really can't control, how do you get them to a point of realizing that it's out of their control and there's no point in fearing it because you can't control it?
Well, it's going to happen one of two ways.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to happen by them understanding that and making a different choice,
Right.
or it's going to happen because their life is going to get so miserable they can't stand it anymore. And then they have to find a different path.
I was gonna say, because you always hear people being so miserable, but a lot of people don't ever change because they're so busy, blaming everybody else. They don't want to see themselves as being the miserable person.
And that's because we live in a world that's where there's accountability and responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
With fear, you can only show up with accountability. People don't understand accountability and responsibility. Once people work with me and they hear what I teach and start looking at their lives, the thing they love the most is the opportunity to be 100% responsible for their life. Because
Right.
we're here to learn lessons. We each come with life lessons to learn. Every one of us.
Mm-hmm.
There's 38 different life paths with lessons on it. Okay? We live in a universe of energy that everybody ignores and they call it woo woo and new age, but it runs everything. Everything's a vibration. The universe,
Right.
the universe is always in expansion. Always.
Mm-hmm.
Fear is always in contraction.
Mhm.
It's just the opposite. So all you've got to do is ride the expansion and put yourself in that place where you allow things to happen.
Mm-hmm.
You just allow them to happen. You can create anything you desire, but you really have to understand the tools inside and understand how the universe works. The universe works on 7 basic laws, and that's it. 3 of them are fixed, and the first one is everything's a vibration. The second one is, I've got to think for a second, I just went blank. The second one is the law of alignment, which means whatever energy you're in, body, mind, and spirit and emotions are in that energy. You're not happy in your head and hurting in your heart, are you? It's not possible. The
Right.
energy has to be aligned, right?
Mm-hmm.
The other one and the third one, and these are fixed, you can't change it. The other one
Mm-hmm.
is everything comes from nothing. So thought creates. So you can create with thought, but you can't create with thought when you're attached to expectations. The only thing you can do is create words and actions that support your expectation. So you're literally blocking the universe. You're saying, "No, I'm smarter than the universe." Okay, that's what you're doing. Those are fixed. The law of vibration, the law of alignment, and that everything comes from nothing. Just like the law of gravity, you can't change them. Those 3. Now there's 4 more.
Right.
The law of rhythm. These 4 you can transcend energetically. Only
Mm-hmm.
energetically. The law of rhythm. What flows in must flow out. The law of cause and effect. Every cause has an effect, and every effect has a cause.
Mhm.
The law of polarity says there's duality in everything, like temperature. Okay? Temperature has hot and
Cold.
cold. There's
Mm-hmm.
duality in everything. And then the law of gender. There's masculine and feminine equally in everything. So we can transcend those four things. I mean, this is all things that I studied. I was so miserable. I had to go find out why. I started doing research and I was going, wow, this can't be true. And then I started checking it out. I'm like, oh my God, this is like amazing. And now I'm so far down the rabbit hole that it's incredible, but I have the talent and the ability to explain it to people in a language that they can understand, just giving them what they can really understand. After somebody talks with me, like, it's game over. Like, science has proven that everything's a vibration.
You can't argue that.
Yeah, and you know what? We are the only ones that we're aware of in the universe, the only ones that have free will and choice. So we can choose to change.
Right.
So if you look at the law of cause and effect and somebody comes up and says, hey, you know, I think you're a miserable bitch. Okay. You get to choose how you receive that.
Right.
If somebody said that to me, you know what I'd say? Really? Tell me more. You know why?
Well,
because they're telling me how they feel about themselves.
Right. It's a reflection.
It isn't about me. I know who I am.
Yeah.
It's not about me. Now, before, I tried to get love through being funny and getting people to like me because I had such low self-esteem. Now I don't care what anybody thinks of me. I could care less. Because I know who I am and I love myself. So it doesn't matter. And I can't change your opinion of me. I can't change it.
Yeah.
Because there's something going on inside of you.
Like you. Yeah.
There's something going on inside of you. But I can be me. And when I come from a place of love, you know, I look at it, it's like this. Today, I'm making the bed that I'm going to sleep in tomorrow. I do that every day. I'm making the bed I'm going to sleep in tomorrow. Do I want to be in chaos, confusion, fear, anger, heartache, loneliness, sadness? No.
Mm-mm.
So I make choices to fulfill my intentions in life, not my expectations. Not my expectations.
Intentions.
My expectation was I was going to be out in Western Colorado today. That's when I left. When I left Vermont, that's what I thought. But I'm not. I'm only in St. Louis. And you know what? It's perfect. The generator's fixed. I've got air conditioning. I can run electricity. You know, I can just park it, start the generator up, and do stuff. I like today, it's perfect. The other thing is, and this is really important, is my life is completely out of control. And yours is too.
Yeah.
And here's how I'll prove it to you. Tell me the day you're going to die.
I have no idea.
We have no idea. And so what everybody focuses on is gathering things, gathering money and stuff and things in the physical so that they can get to death safely.
That sounds sad.
Do.
But yeah.
It's the truth.
It is.
I'm living my life. I've sold all my properties. I have no properties. I live in my RV. I have no idea what the future holds for me. I can give you a schedule that I have on paper through January that's very subject to change, depending upon what comes up, what opportunities are there, who the people are. Are they people that are like-minded that I want to be involved with? If they aren't, I just say thank you very much, but I'm busy. So we have so much control, but not in the physical. Not in the physical. The universe will always take care of you when you come from a place of love. But fear creates measurement.
Mm-hmm.
What's another word for measurement, Michaela?
I
Judgment.
don't know. Judgment. I'm thinking like math. I'm thinking like length or something like that.
Right. No, when you judge somebody, you're measuring them.
Mhm.
You're measuring them
that's
as
true.
being better than or less than.
Or less than. Yeah.
And you want to know the difference between you and me? There is none.
None.
We are just human beings with a vibration, here to learn lessons.
Mm-hmm.
It's like that simple. So judgment, measurement, fear of loss. And what we do is, because we're living with fear, we perpetuate the same cycles. The fear perpetuates the same cycle, and it's over and over and over and over again. It happens. It looks different. There's different stories. There's different excuses. But if you look at it energetically, there's no difference. The energy is exactly the same. It's coming from fear. It's coming from the stories. It's coming from things that no longer serve us. We are here to be happy, joyous, free, and abundant. That is our
So
birthright.
when they literally say, they literally mean it when, you know, people say leave the past in the past.
It's just an experience. There's no such
Mm-hmm.
thing as good or bad.
Right.
This is something that was made up in the physical to measure people, to be able to control people. Because in love, is there good and bad love?
Love is love.
Love is love.
Mhm.
Pretty crazy, isn't it?
It is. It's just so simple.
It's so simple. When you go in the physical, it isn't simple because it's survival.
Mhm.
Right.
It's survival based upon your needs and what you're after, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to make this, and blah 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 blah. I'm sure you've heard it 100 times. Money does not bring happiness.
Right. It's true.
In fact, the way I live, many people think I'm like filthy rich, which isn't true. I'm totally abundant. And abundance, what does abundance look like in the physical?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I
you know
guess it
why?
depends. It depends on how you see it, I guess.
It's an energy. It can manifest many different ways.
Mm-hmm.
It can manifest, right?
Mm-hmm.
What does money look like in the physical? See, you can describe money because it's in the physical.
Yeah, you know
But
what it is.
abundance, love, responsibility, integrity, there are words that only fit energetically, and those are the words that I use. These are this is the language that I speak. Always supporting my intentions energetically. That way, I'm bypassing fear. I'm going to have fear. Fear is part of the human experience. Like I had a lot of fear when I had that problem last week. And the first thing I did is, okay, you've got to stop. You have to sit down and be still.
Mm-hmm.
Just breathe, move the energy of the fear. Start writing down the different options that are available, get more clarity. This is why I'm an expert on clarity. I can bring clarity to anything, but I do it energetically, not in the physical. I just see where the person is at energetically. And that's what we talk about. So
Is
what
that
other
all
questions
in your
do you have?
book? Are all those things in your book?
Actually, yes, my book goes through the 7 levels of truth, goes through our basic needs in the physical, Maslow's hierarchy. It talks about our divine powers, our divine gifts. We each have the same 7 divine gifts, and it's divine compassion, divine creation, divine order, divine healing, divine authentic self-expression, divine truth, and divine power. We each have all 7 of those, but we have them in different proportions. This is why we're all unique, and this is what makes us unique. And it's that energy that creates the uniqueness that we're here to serve others with. But each of those gifts, like people have different proportions of them, of every one of them. And when you're not aware of them and you don't use them, they each have penalties. So I can just see what's going on in somebody's life and tell you a little bit about what divine gifts they have that they don't understand, because I see them living the penalties. And the penalties show up energetically. They show up energetically. In fact, I have a client in Colorado. I just met with Monday. I hadn't met with him for a few weeks. He was on vacation back east. And we're sitting there talking, and I said to him, I said, what the hell happened to you on vacation? He said, what do you mean? I said, your energy is spinning like you're in a washing machine or a dryer. It's like, I've never seen this. This is crazy. Oh, he was saying the right things, but his energy was nuts.
Right.
Well, it turns
that makes
out,
sense.
He's like, really? I said, yeah. Like, I don't even know who I'm talking to. And I've worked with him for 4 years.
Wow.
Right? So this isn't like this is not a new acquaintance. I know him.
Right.
I know him better than he knows himself. And he's like, really? And this is a true story. He reaches in his pocket and he pulls out this card, and this card has on it diagrams. When you're working with energy, there's different patterns and things that you can use to block energy and to draw in energy, but they don't necessarily work for all of us. This particular one is to block negative energies coming from cell phones, EMFs, and all these other things. He had been carrying it in his pocket for a week. And he took it out. I said, that's got to be it. He said, wow. I'll put it over here. I said, no, go out and put it in your garbage. Get rid of the damn thing. And then we met yesterday, night and day difference. He said that night he was talking to his wife, and his wife said, you changed. What happened? He said, oh, you're not going to believe this. She said, no, there's definitely a difference.
Wow.
And literally, it was that big.
Wow.
Literally, it was that big. And that is a 100% true story that just happened. Now, because of his divine gifts, he has a lot of divine power. And with divine power, if you're not using it, you have too many choices. You can't make decisions. You're indecisive, and it just puts you into that spin, And he was so deep in the penalties of it. It was so obvious because he had just come off vacation. He was back east. I'm like, did you pick this up back east? What happened? Because energetically, it was night and day difference. So be aware of your energy and be aware that you get to create the life of your desire, but you have to do it from the inside. You don't do it in your head. You don't do it with mindset. That's BS.
Yep.
Mindset's just blah, 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 blah. I'm wonderful. You're wonderful. We're all wonderful. And then people walk out and they're still angry inside because of what happened to them as a child. Or I talk to people that are like, oh, I used to have issues with my parents, but I've taken care of that. And I say, really? Then it's running your life right now. And they're like, what do you mean? I said, because whatever enters the system never leaves. That energy will never leave. The way you get it to diminish, the way you get the fear to diminish, is you love it.
Mhm.
Say, come over here, fear. Tell me, come here, I love you. Come here, tell me, talk to me. And let the fear have a voice. Really. Let it have a voice, and it will speak to you.
Mhm.
And you say, okay, we're going to change that story because there's no reason to be there anymore.
Right.
You just, you change it, you make a different choice, you proceed with love, and you watch what happens. And that's when miracles happen like that. Crazy stuff happens fast. You can do it energetically the more you get into energy. But fear is part of the human experience. You know, ultimately in the human experience, Michaela, there's only two emotions, love and fear.
Right.
That's it. Everything is going to be based on one of those two.
Right.
People can be sad. I just had another client who just 2 weeks ago lost her mother and her grandmother 2 days apart from COVID.
Mm.
Wow.
Tremendous sadness and heartache, but it's based in love.
Yes.
That makes
In
sense.
fact, she put a post on Facebook and said, "My selfish heart still wants you here,"
Mm.
which is a very powerful statement.
Mm-hmm.
But from a place of with love, there's sadness.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
This hour went pretty fast, didn't it?
It did. That was a good hour, though.
Oh yeah, it really
I
was.
told you, Michaela, before we started, I said, this is a show you're going to want to go back and watch again.
Yeah, for real.
I said a lot of things that you can change your life instantly. You don't have to do this for 30 days. You make one choice. Boom, it happens.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
It's that simple.
Mm-hmm.
It's that simple. And here I've talked this whole hour, and Jim, who he and I host the radio show together, hasn't put in a word edgewise.
Well, I didn't want to interrupt that good positive energy, and I remember on the radio.
Unusual.
Yeah, I remember we had him on the radio 2 years ago, and I asked Bill. I said, "Bill, what do you want to talk about?" And he said, "Well, Jim," he says, "my life's out of control, and yours is too." And I said, "Well, Bill, we want to be a little more positive today, if we can, brother." But ladies and gentlemen,
the minute you accept that, you can make changes.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And Bill's book, The 7 Levels of Truth, is on Amazon, and all the things that Bill said here are in the book, and plus a lot of other things, a lot of understanding. That's 25 years of labor, sweat equity that he invested in that book. So be sure and check it out. Be sure and go to Bill's website there, truelifepurposenow.com. And I'm fiddling around with my earpiece here, and I apologize for that. Absolutely. Our time is gone. We'll be back tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure and love yourself first and love others. And most importantly, if it's your birthday today, just remember one thing. Birthday cakes and all the sweets that you enjoy in your life on your birthday, it is now health food. We'll